Top five, top five, top five.
Cinematography back with another video. I'm Strange Wayne. He's Nate. Today we're doing top 5 comedies. How does that work?
So one of us will start with our 5 and 4, the other will do their 5 and 4, 3-2, 3-2, then we'll trade off number ones. We also have something called the Zemeckis rule, which just means that if one of us has the same film as the other person on our list, but they have it 2 spots higher, they will call out Zemeckis. When the other person calls it out, it just means we'll save the conversation for that film when we get to it on the person who has it higher's list.
So I'm going to start off with top 5 comedies. My number 5 comedy. This was hard because it's such a broad genre. Mm-hmm. I could have easily did 10.
Yeah.
So my number 5 is Superbad.
That's going to be a slight Zemeckis.
Holy same haircut. This one will not. My number 4, Bad News Bears.
You're correct.
1976. They don't make movies like this anymore. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is that Archie Bunker, George Jefferson type of humor, where it's like they're not the greatest of human beings because elements of racism, homosexuality.
They're rude, crude, and socially unacceptable.
Exactly. But they, by the end of the movie or the television show, the characters look stupid because of their viewpoints, and they learn a little bit and grow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's meant to teach us. So you have elements of that in there. So it gets deep for a sports film, and it's not about sports at all. And then you just get this team of like ragtag kids of all like different colors and sexualities, you can say, male, female, you know. And you just see them grow and to love each other and understand each other. And you do that as well with them in the film and love all the kids and love the coach, even though he's a drunk and a shyster and walk the mouth out. So, and it's baseball. I love baseball movies.
Very, very personal, which is why we say it's our favorites and not what we necessarily think is the best. So my number 5 is Napoleon Dynamite. I think this film is freaking hilarious. It gets me every single time. I think I was just at the perfect age when it came out. Like I think a sophomore in high school. So just like this irreverent, stupid, borderline pointless humor was incredibly funny to me. And like it's sometimes what makes a comedy funny is just the quotability. And I'm pretty sure that I had entire conversations with my cousins and friends at school using nothing but quotes from Napoleon Dynamite. And it's like it's stupid now, and like I even think it's stupid now. But this movie had such a cultural impact on the youth. It literally made looking at someone and saying your mom goes to college like funny, and it's not.
No, it's not.
But like the movie made it work because of how ridiculous these characters were. So I haven't watched it in a really, really long time, but every time I'm around my cousins, even though it's literally been like over a decade probably since we've talked about it, we still quote Napoleon Dynamite. My number 4 is Happy Gilmore.
That's so amazing.
Really?
That's amazing. I love that movie.
Yeah, that movie's phenomenal. I mean, I love golf, and this was like prime Adam Sandler.
He's like, I love golf. I love Bob Barker.
Dude, he literally fights Bob Barker. And like, just like the stories that Adam Sandler tells in those like early 2000s versions of his, they're just like the wackiest stories, man.
90s.
Late 90s. So like in itself, just the absolute wackiness of it is so funny. Like watching him just go off in his fits of rage. Like Shooter McGavin is like, to me, one of the best movie villains. Like, he's just so easy to freaking hate. Yeah. And, like, his little dream sequences where he's, like, making out with his grandma. And, like, like, oh, my God. Like, that stuff's freaking funny, man. And you just can't beat those early Happy Madison productions. Yeah. They're so good.
My number 3 is going to be Airplane. I love this movie because the gags are on point. The dialogue is even better than the gags. So if the gags are already at a 10 out of 10 and the dialogue surpasses that, I'm all in for it. If you've never seen the movie, you have to watch it twice because it's so quick, man. They hit you with line after line after line. Speaking about quotability, there's 100 quotes in this movie, and it's incredible stuff. Every joke lands. Like, there's not one unfunny joke, and they hit you joke after joke after joke after joke. So not only is it like an impressive achievement in comedy, but it's one of the funniest films of all time. Number 2 on my list is our first Mel Brooks film. Show 'em Frankenstein. I love Universal monster movies. I love Mel Brooks. So for Mel Brooks to parody a Universal monster movie with Gene Wilder, which is his ace, incredible stuff. Getting quotability is on point. Dry, quick humor. If you can't tell from my list, I love dry and quick humor. I like dry and quick humor. You personally like dry and quick something else? Yeah, nasty. I love this movie so much. It feels like someone made this movie with me in mind. Like, Strange Wayne's gonna love that line. Like, that's how personal of a connection I have to this movie. And I love it. It's the best.
Nice. So my number 3 is the Zemeckis from your number 5, which is Superbad.
Yeah.
So Superbad for me is just because we have so many of those types of movies.
It's definitely the best one.
It also has to be a good movie for it to be enjoyable at this point. And Superbad, it does that. And what does it for me is that it doesn't put this like incredible focus on like there's no real relationship aspect to it. Like yeah, they have crushes or like girls they're trying to get laid by. And yeah, they kind of throw some of that stuff at the end, but it's really about their friendship.
Yeah.
And that's what sells it for me. You know, like you don't have to worry about like who's marrying who by the end of the film or like what all that's going on with that. And like the sex jokes in it are like they're just more realistic to me than ones you hear in other movies.
Yeah.
Because it's like I 100% did that in high school.
Yeah.
You know? So it's just funny all around. The cast is absolutely incredible. Their chemistry is incredible. And like it's an incredibly well written film as well.
Yeah.
And it's funny, man.
So for me, I think it's also hilarious. I was that age once, so you had that coming age aspect of it. Again, I was that age once, so it has relatability. Second, well, relatability to you too, because you also have a notebook full of dicks. Jonah Hill wears a Richard Pryor shirt. Big points for me. Everything you said, plus, but the reason why it's my number 5 is I hate the cops in that movie. Every time the cops come on in that movie, I've seen it enough times now. I just fast forward through the cop parts.
Yeah.
But I hate the cops in that movie.
So my number 2 is Spaceballs. So we both have Mel Brooks movies that are number 2. Just different. And don't get me wrong, I love Young Frankenstein.
And I love Spaceballs.
Yeah, but I picked this one. I like for a general top comedies film, I was only going to pick one Mel Brooks. He could have had multiple in my top 5 favorite comedies, but this one is what does it for me. A, because it's just one of the earlier ones that I saw growing up. And, like, this type of humor, like, these type of movies, Mel Brooks movies, really, like, honestly, any of the comedies that we're talking about are so great to see when you're a kid because you don't see, like, a good third of the movie when you're a kid.
Yeah,
especially if you're watching the TV version. And so, like, to just get to appreciate all the goofiness that you see as a kid, and that's, like, your only focus is just the absolute, like, goofiness of it, to then growing up as an adult and then catching all the, like, kind of underhanded jokes.
I can take you to the exact moment how I was sitting, how my room was set up, everything, when I was watching Spaceballs, and they're combing the desert.
Yeah. Oh
and then it pans over to the 2 black guys using a pick and the white guy using combs. And the 2 black guys, you found anything? We found shit. Like, I could take that as that place. I'm like, I've seen this multiple times. That's what it means.
Yeah.
Like, Mel Brooks movies, to me, are like Lil Wayne songs. You gotta listen to it or watch it a bunch of times to get everything.
For sure. And this one definitely puts it at the top for me because, like, obviously I love Star Wars. So, like,
sci-fi in general, like, you have a ton of sci-fi stuff in there.
Yeah, and it just doesn't, like, it never feels like it's making fun of something I love in, like, a demeaning way.
Yeah.
Like, Spaceballs and Star Wars, to me, they just go hand in hand. And one is just the irreverent, really funny version of that. And, like, it's not a perfect movie, and there's some jokes that are, like, a little bit too stupid. Like, the spaceship turning into a giant maid with a vacuum. Like, that's a little silly. But it's Mel Brooks, and you gave Mel Brooks room to play in space, and that's what you get.
My number 1 will not be on your list. I know that for a fact.
I haven't seen it.
Well, if you're not doing anything this Friday, you should watch it because it's Friday. Whack.
I am off this Friday, so I might watch it.
I got plans this Friday, or I would watch it with you. If I don't, I got you. But yeah, it's Friday. Like he said, quotability. This movie, quotable out the wazoo. Again, my uncle, this was his favorite movie. And he was a drunk, so I just remember him, like, the more he drank, the funnier the movie got. So, like, watching this movie with him, I just have really fond memories of that because it's just like, every time you watch it with him, he's at like a different level, and it just makes the movie funnier. But now I'm an adult, debatable, and I understand why he was laughing.
Yeah.
Because that movie's so funny. Like, it's just a normal day in the hood, and it's like, for a white person, it's probably like, oh my goodness, like, I would hate to live in this neighborhood. But like the cast of characters and everything, you just love everybody for different reasons. Chris Tucker, this was his breakout role. Because of this movie, it got Chris Tucker and Debo in the next Quentin Tarantino movie because he loves this movie so much. So it's incredible stuff. There hasn't been a movie that I've watched for a consecutive 24 years of my life, and it's still as funny as the first time I saw it. I still laugh out loud. And like both of us, it takes a lot for us to laugh out loud.
Right. And I'm going to use that point to segue into mine because that is also true of my film, which is Dumb and Dumber. I'm sure that's not a surprise to you at all.
No, not at all.
But like, I feel that exact same way. I have no clue how old I was the first time I watched this film, but I was young. Way too young to be watching a movie as like raunchy as this one really is.
Fully.
Well, are you arguing that it's raunchy or arguing that you can't be too young to watch raunchy?
You can't be too young to watch anything. When my kid turns 3, I'm going to let him watch Predator.
Yikes. He'll probably become one. But yeah, no matter how many times I watch it, no matter how many times I watch Dumb and Dumber, I laugh so hard every time. And I could quote like almost the whole movie. And I might still could. Literally. And there's family ties too. Like me and my cousin literally one time reset in our grandma's basement and watched this film 3 times in a row and literally tried to memorize the entire film. And we got pretty dang good at it.
Oh, I thought you said when there was family ties in it. I thought Carl Winslow was in it.
Ah, nice. Wow. But to get like the comedy performance out of Jeff Daniels, who had done mostly serious stuff up to that point, is absolutely incredible because he nails it. Like, I love Jim Carrey in this role because his character is supposed to be a complete idiot. It's called Dumb and Dumber. Whereas like in a lot of his other movies, it's like he's supposed to have like a real job doing something serious and he's just being Jim Carrey, which is still funny. But like, when you make him what his type of comedy is, it just rolls, man. And like, I think what a lot of people forget about this movie is how witty some of the jokes really are.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
some of the stuff in there is like, you got to be pretty sharp to catch it. And it's like, I don't know, man. Their friendship is hilarious. And like, I love that they keep them. This is this is something that I really love about this film is that a lot of these kind of more like goofy comedies will like tie it up with a nice bow for the characters at the end, but they just stay stupid to the very end, where they literally decline going on a paid beach tour with bikini models to rub oil on them all day. And it's like, the way it ends is hilarious, man. I love that film so much.
You know what I love?
What do you love?
When people love us and comment down below. Comment just some of your favorite comedies down below. This was a hard list for us. We left some off. I would have loved to talk about Office Space, Clerks, Watermelon Man. I could go on. You know, we'll mention real quick.
All
right.
Not off the dome.
Not off the dome.
I didn't write them down.
But
I'm still thinking about Dumb and Dumber.
Again, tell us down below. Let's talk about some comedies there. Scroll up a little bit, hit the like button, share the video, and subscribe.
One more thing.
If there's an ad in the video, please click the ad.
Help me.
And if you do click that ad in the video,
I appreciate you.